Good morning and welcome to Self-Care Sunday, where we explore what it means to fill our own cups. Happy long weekend. I just love a Sunday where you do not have to worry about Monday. So today we're going to talk about, actually, I am not going to reveal what we're going to talk about. Let's just do a quick exercise. So grab a piece of paper. This one is easier with an actual real piece of paper, not a doc. So I'll give you a second. Go grab it and a pen. Okay, are you ready? On your piece of paper, draw 3 circles like a target, like with a center circle, and then a middle ring around it and an outer ring. And then in the center ring, write the names of the people who are most important to you. The people you love the most and who know you the best and who you can't imagine living without. Got it? Okay. In the middle ring, the next ring out, write the names of the people you care about, but who are not in your center ring. Like this could be some family members or some close friends. In this ring, these are the people that you would call in a crisis, with whom you could share your thoughts or your problems. Okay. In the outer ring, instead of names, we're going to write categories of people because there's going to be a lot more people in this outer ring. So these are going to be people who are in your life, but are not essential to it. Like the categories you could write could be like colleagues, neighbors, half of your friends on Facebook, like your kids, friends, parents, that sort of thing. I know I'm going fast. Are you ready? Okay, so now you've got your 3 rings. And now you've got these corners in the side of your paper. And so in the corners outside of all of the rings are the people that you come across in your life infrequently, like your dentist or your hairdresser, that sort of thing. So you can write those in the corners. Okay. Have you ever noticed that sometimes we are nicer to the strangers, the people on the outside of our circle, than we are to the people who are most important to us on the inside of our circles? So this is not a new concept. There are thousands of articles written on this, and they all seem to focus on relationships, with the main takeaway to try to be nicer to people in the inner circles. And that's great and all, but I couldn't find anybody that talked about why. Why is it mostly universal that we are nicer to the people on the outside circles than we are on the inside circles? And why is it so hard to change that and flip that around? So we're going to look at it in the context of, wait for it. Anybody know? Anybody? Old programming. Yes, my favorite subject that I talk about all the time. Okay, so in the context of old programming, let's think of each person as having multiple layers, like an onion. Not a cake like Donkey wants in Shrek, because the layers have to be in a sphere where the center, there's a center core, and then there are layers extending outwards, kind of like the circles that you just drew on your paper. And each layer comes with a set of programs. So what happens is the people that are on the outside of our circles, like the circles that you draw, they get only the surface layer of our onion. And our outermost layer is the most polished layer that we show to the outside world. And it is easy to show a polished layer, a veneer of kindness for a short period of time. And the programming on this layer is simple. It might be something like, show the world that you are a nice person. Okay? And we can do that for a short period of time. And so in the next circle in, on your paper, the people that we see on a regular basis, they're going to get a few more layers of our onion. They see us too often to just get the surface layer. And so our interactions with them become more complex. They get the extra layers that go deeper, like the layers that have programming around appearing professional, for example, if they're at work, appearing respectable, competent, appearing like a good parent, those sort of things. Now, did you notice that I used the word appearing here? Because we're still on the outside layers of our onion, the layers that we show to the people who don't really get to know us, who never get down into those core center layers. And so remember that our programming tells us how to be and act in order to be accepted in each of the groups that we've listed in this area of our circle. But at this point in our circle, it's still a veneer. It's still a show of how our mind wants us to be perceived in order to maintain our status in the group. Okay? So now we are starting to move inwards into our innermost circles. And one thing we haven't talked about yet is emotion. We have a ton of programming about emotions, and most of it involves keeping it in. And so our layers of outer programming hold in the emotions of the inner layers. We really try to never let our emotions leak into the outer layers. We don't want to lose it at work. We don't want strangers to be burdened with our feelings. We don't want to be seen as weak. And we don't want the other parents to think we aren't quite stable. Our outer layers are part of that programming that helps us appear put together and unflappable and in control. But now we are going deeper. And these layers on the inside can't help but be steeped in emotion because we care more about these relationships as we get closer to the center of our circle. And this is great, but it means more opportunities for our layers and our programs to clash. Because caring brings up our core unworthy programs that make us feel unworthy or that worry about us being unworthy. And so you end up with conflicts like, I really want this person to love me, but I'm not quite sure I'm lovable. Do you know what I mean? So this core of us is where we have programs around what the relationship is supposed to be like, or how this person is supposed to behave or react, or how you are supposed to feel. And if the relationship as it is supposed to be, you can conclude that you are lovable and all is good. But how often is it as you think it should be? It's never that way. And so when that happens, it's going to trigger an insecurity, and your mind is going to go nuts trying to find the safest course of action to fix it. So, for example, maybe you have a program telling you what a desirable body shape is supposed to be and what could happen if you don't maintain that shape. And you can see how that programming creates insecurities that could have drastic impacts on your relationship. So in these inner relationships, in addition to all those layers of emotion and programming, there's just a natural requirement for more collaboration, which of course opens up all the programming and emotions about how things should be done. And I cannot tell you the number of discussions I've had with other wives about folding towels. Okay, folding towels. We're talking about towels here. Okay, so The point is, the more interaction we have with a person, the more we let go of our veneer and the more everything is steeped in emotion. And so the more opportunity there is for our programs to clash and our insecurities to be triggered. So we end up clashing the most with the people we live with. And it's just natural. It's not going to be solved until you can start uncovering your old programming, examining how it shows up in your life, and then take steps to align your programs with what you really care about. And this is what my program, Bridge to Your Best Life, is all about. It takes 6 months to do that. And I really love how effective it is to work on your old programming and how old programming explains so much in my life. But that's not what we're talking about today. What I actually want to talk about today is you. So I asked you to write the names of the most important people in the center of the circle. Did anybody put yourself in there? No? Go ahead and write me in the very center of your bullseye, because you are the most important person in your life. How does it feel when you say that? Try it. See if you can say it out loud. I am the most important person in my life. I get tingles and a ton of emotion when I say that out loud. How do you feel when you say it out loud? I feel that way because all of my programming is about being nice to others, being useful to others, being a good friend to others, and a good parent to others. None of my programs put me first. In fact, the only programs that I have about me are the opposite of that. Don't be a bother. Don't be selfish. Don't be lazy. Don't be useless. Don't even be noticed. And at the center of your sphere, of your onion, is where all of the emotion and all of the programs converge. It's a chaotic place because programs often conflict and emotions are tough to deal with. And this is where your mind tries to steer you in the safest direction. And sometimes it does this in what it thinks is the most effective way possible. Bullying and shame. So often we are nicest to strangers and meanest to ourselves. And so if that's true for you, I want to talk about shifting that narrative inside your head. This is how I did it. If you come up with a different way, I would love to hear about it because different things could work for different people. So please let me know. More solutions is always better. So I'm going to share for me, this is what worked for me. I started picturing a younger version of myself, like 8 years old, mid 80s, rocking a side ponytail with my rainbow bright t-shirt. And I pictured her living inside my head. And when I started berating myself for whatever the latest gaffe was in my life, I would slam that picture into my mind and think, what would I say to her if it was her who had done this? And it would probably be something nice and comforting, like, oh, sweetie, it's okay. We all make mistakes. And then I'd probably give like a list of successes, like, oh, it's true that maybe you said the wrong thing today, but you also did plenty of things right today. And it's also true that you are an excellent problem solver and a good friend. And I am sure that you will be able to try some solutions out when you are ready. because you are brave and strong and courageous, and we will get through this together. That feels a lot nicer than what I would have said to my grown-up self. And I especially beat myself up as I'm trying to go to sleep. So at night, I can go to sleep imagining cuddling her and comforting her in my lap. So if things come up, I can just put my arms around her and tell her encouraging things instead of lying awake all night going through the 1,000 scenarios that I should have done that would have been better than what I actually did. So the main takeaway here is that in the context of our circles, we have the most complicated relationship with ourselves. And it is a relationship that we need to take time to nurture, just like the other relationships in our closer circles. And the great thing is that we nurture the relationship with ourselves in the exact same way that we nurture other relationships. We get to know ourselves. We can be kind to ourselves. We can communicate effectively with ourselves. And we can openly declare our love for ourselves. And so I challenge you this week to be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself through mental conversations with yourself and start building that relationship and nurturing that relationship with yourself. And when you do that, you start creating new programs. And that is going to impact all of the different layers. And hopefully it will improve our closest relationships. And I want to caveat and say that sometimes improve means leave. If we start seeing our own worth and we realize that a person in our inner circle doesn't, and maybe should not be allowed to be in our inner circle, we can take steps to address that. And addressing our old programming improves our confidence in ourselves. And so our confidence to deepen the relationship that brings us joy, and then remove the relationships that may be toxic. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And before I sign off today, I want to mention that there is an upcoming replenishment retreat for busy parents with a goal of teaching you how to keep your battery full while doing all of the million things that you do in a day. The link to sign up is in the header of my Facebook group, and I hope to see you there. Have a great day.